What is going on, guys? I am the Solomonster, and it is a Friday night. Yes, I know, don't look at the clock. I know it's a little weird, but this was the kickoff to WWE's European tour. They were in Barcelona, Spain tonight for Smackdown. They're going to be on an international tour for the next 3 weeks. So this is going to be a regular thing between now and the end of the month. You know, when I think of Barcelona and I think of WWE, the first thing I think of, and if you've never seen the match before, you really should look it up. It's got no English commentary, so it's just Spanish commentary only. But they were on tour in 1991. It was October of 1991, and there was a match that headlined the show between Tito Santana and The Undertaker. And Tito Santana was a great babyface in WWE for many years. You know, he was never pushed as a top guy. Although I guess there was some discussion in 92 about possibly putting the title on him. But he got to wrestle in the main event. And he became the first man, televised anyway, because it aired on television in Barcelona, to pin The Undertaker. And let me tell you, when he pinned The Undertaker on that show, the place went crazy. Like, you need to see the reaction to the finish of that match, if nothing else. Like, they treated Tito like he was the conquering hero. And I believe that was The Undertaker's first loss. And I'll never forget the reaction. I was blown away the first time I saw that. So they were in Barcelona tonight. They had a great crowd tonight as well for SmackDown. Now, if you're wondering why the hell am I going live so early tonight, I caught SmackDown like many other people did earlier today using my trusty VPN, which you can too, by the way. I used my Express VPN, and I remembered that SmackDown was actually airing on Netflix at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And so I was able to watch the show, and I said, you know what? These 3-hour SmackDowns, man, they are the bane of my fucking existence. And so I know we're not going to get back to 2-hour SmackDowns until like June. But if there's anything I can do, at least tonight, and maybe we'll do it next week too if it's received well, but if there's anything I can do to not have to first go live to talk about what I'm sure is going to be a ho-hum SmackDown at 11:25 at night, I'm going to take it. But it looks like there were a lot of people who watched the show earlier today anyway, so we may be missing a few of our regulars, but we got some people filing in. Coming into tonight, this stat is going to blow your mind, because no matter how many times I hear about this, it's just hard to believe. But coming into tonight, the last time the Street Profits held tag team gold in WWE, you would have to go all the way back to January of 2021. That is how long it has been since the Street Profits were tag team champions on Raw or SmackDown. And so that last week they announced that tonight they would be challenging DIY for the tag team titles. They weren't even going to wait until WrestleMania to do some kind of multi-man, which I guess they still can, but I thought maybe the Profits would finally win the belt at WrestleMania. They went and they announced the match for tonight. And I said it last week, if they don't win here, after all the opportunities that they've had, all the times that they have gone in there and lost in the last 4 years, you may as well pack it up and go home. They had to win those tag team titles tonight from DIY. And in fact, the Street Profits did win the tag team titles, and the Street Profits are your new WWE Tag Team Champions. And I said, hallelujah, because they had no other choice. They had no other choice. Now, look, if they would have waited until WrestleMania and had them win the titles there, that would have been fine. But the minute they announced this match, you can't send them out there, especially with this new attitude, right? This new air about them, and just have them lose again or have some kind of a schmaz finish. You can't do that. So that was really the story of the show, because they closed with it. The only reason they closed with it was because they were giving us a title change. But it's about damn time that Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford win tag team gold. Now, where they go from here, is there some great plan? Is there some great, big match or program lined up for them? Probably not. I don't see what it could possibly be. But at least they got the gold that they have been desperately longing for. We also had one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions making a special appearance on the show tonight because they were in his home country. For those of you who do not know, Axiom is from Madrid. And so they had a kid on the show tonight, and he was actually in the ring with the World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther, who made a special appearance on SmackDown. and is feeling more and more by the week like Alberto Del Rio or Dolph Ziggler or any of those world heavyweight champions that we saw 15 years ago. When they had the big gold belt, and they would appear, it was a SmackDown belt back then. Now it's a Raw belt. But back then, you'd have the SmackDown World Champion sometimes in the second match of the night on Monday night. Just another match on the card. Just to really drive home the point of who the secondary champion was. And it feels more and more by the week. I mean, we already know what the secondary title is. The top title in the company is held by Cody Rhodes. The top title in the company is going to headline night 2 of WrestleMania. The top title in the company is very likely going to John Cena at WrestleMania. We know this. But I mean, the least you could do is try not to make it feel so much like a secondary title. But there he was. And I enjoyed the match. Gunther and Axiom had a hell of a little match there tonight. But boy, when I saw him walk out there in the middle of the show and I see who he's in the ring with, and I'm like, man, world heavyweight champion, huh? Going to headline night 1 of WrestleMania. I'm not so sure about that. But yes, we did get a very special match tonight between Gunther and Axiom that was probably the highlight of the entire show, honestly. But the other thing that is going to have a lot of people talking, and they were very brief, and we don't know for sure. So a lot of people assuming things, but we had 2 very brief vignettes, not even acknowledged by the announcers. I think it was coming out of a commercial break. One that looked like it was very likely for the impending debut of one Rey Fenix. And the other one that may well be for the impending debut of Aleister Black. Although there was nothing in that one, there was no real hard piece of evidence in that one to really point to who it was for. But that's not going to stop people from assuming. It's not going to stop me from assuming, because that was the first thought that I had too. We may have just gotten the first hint of these 2 impending arrivals here in WWE, although this does not mean that they're both going to be on SmackDown. But we'll talk about what it looked like, what form it took here on this show. We're going to go through this entire show as we have more people filing in here. Again, a little on the earlier side. This is your Friday night SmackDown review for Friday, March 14, 2025. I am the Solomonster.
Why is Solomonster a Punk hater? Why does he hate Punk so much? What did he ever do to him?
There you go. Is that Fire Panda? That's our pal Fire Panda. That is our pal Fire Panda here, dropping a $48 super chat. Amazing. Hey, shout out to Joe McCann in the chat. Hey, Joe, I'd like for you to do me a favor, Joe. Joe, I'd like for you to explain to me, because Joe has a very interesting comment here. Joe says, so you are blowing it for everyone who didn't get to watch it. Now, Joe, I don't know how old you are. I don't know how educated you are. I don't know if you're in school. I don't know if you just completely bypass school. I have no idea. Let me ask you a question. How exactly am I blowing it? How am I blowing it? You chose to be here, Joe. You're here right now, Joe. You chose to come in here. There's nothing in the thumbnail. There's nothing in the title. I didn't put anything in there to spoil anything. You are here right now because you wanted to be here. And if you don't want to be here, Joe, we got one message for you.
Go fuck yourself!
There you go. So everybody say goodbye to Joe. It was nice knowing you. Like and subscribe if you would like to drop a super chat. Super chats are open, as you saw from our pal Fire Panda. I appreciate that very much. Also, and again, look, if you want to check out these shows over the next few weeks, you got to get yourself a VPN. And I got a good VPN deal for you. It's right down there in the description, so go ahead and check it out. expressvpn.com/Solomonster. You too can check out SmackDown a little bit earlier, or Raw, a little bit earlier in the day if you would like to. And we have a little super chat goal going tonight. I don't know if we're going to hit it or not, but if we do, somebody mentioned it the other night. I haven't done one of those Sporkle quizzes in a while. So we'll do a Sporkle quiz. They're basically, go to Sporkle, was it Sporkle.com? I don't know, whatever it is. And we, in the past, have done a couple of WWE quizzes. Well, I'll do it. And you guys can play along as well. And we'll see how smart I really am. I don't even know what the quiz is. I just kind of cut and pasted the link. It's there. It's waiting. If we hit the goal, we'll do a quiz a little bit later on. All right, so if I have Joe's permission, although I don't believe Joe is with us any longer, but let's get into this show here. Let's spoil the show for Joe. How about that? All right, here we go. They opened the show tonight, and they were showing different stars arriving, including Randy Orton, who had his wife with him, and Paul Heyman, who was playing with a soccer ball. Or is it a football? I should probably say football, huh? Playing with a football on his way into the arena. So then it was out live into the arena and the arrival of the brand new United States champion LA Knight, who came out to a monster pot here at the beginning of the show. And he got into the ring and they serenaded him with the Ole Ole chant, probably for a good minute and a half before he could even speak. And he said it's been far too long that he went without gold around his waist, but now he has got his title back and he got everybody to do his catchphrase before we had our first interruption of the night. Somalian Joe. Just Joe doesn't like Solomon. So, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You can't please everybody. You can't please everybody. Joe even, Mike says Joe even said he is unsubscribed. No, you got it wrong. Joe said I think he said he was unsunscribed. He misspelled it too. He misspelled, again, I mean, the education level here. Once I saw that comment, I figured the education level may not be up to par, but that's okay. I don't want to pick on Joe. He probably gets picked on enough as it is. So Big Jimmy Uso, makes his way out to the ring. He interrupted this here. And Jimmy said he was desperate. Said his road to WrestleMania is running short. He's getting tired of these speed bumps popping up. And the only way to start his road to WrestleMania is to challenge LA Knight right here in Barcelona for, and I quote, and I hope that they did not edit this out on the USA Network version. But he said he wants to challenge him for the U.S. tag titles. I hope he's not drinking again. I sincerely hope not. I certainly hope he's not drinking any of this real American beer. As the boo birds are out, that is Base Beerus. Says Gypsy Joe. Gypsy Joe, huh? Thank you, Base Beerus, for the 23. They edited it. Oh, come on. Did they edit it out? Oh, see, now I'm happy I watched the international version. Well, I mean, you could probably find the clip yourself. Now Miracle is saying they didn't edit it out. Well, I don't know if they did or they didn't. I'm hearing mostly here that they did, but that's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said. And he wasn't the only person to either forget his line or flub his line here, because they were interrupted by Solo Sikoa, who came out with Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu behind him. And he stood in the aisleway. He had a microphone in his hand. And he said that if there's anybody that deserves a U.S. title shot, that man should definitely be Jacob Fatu. A few weeks ago, he stole the pin. He's talking to LA Knight now. He stole the pin, which is the only reason that title didn't come to them. Then he looked at Jimmy in the ring, and he stumbled over his words when he went to go ask him to do him a favor and step aside, since he's the failure of the family. Jimmy said his biggest failure was trusting him as a little brother. And even more than that, the bigger failure was him losing the Ula Fala to Roman Reigns. So the heels ended up in the ring and had the baby faces down 3-on-2 until Braun Strowman, he rumbled on down to the ring. He caught Fatu with a thrust as Fatu came leaping off the second rope. Jimmy took out Solo with a super kick. They wiped out Tama Tonga, and Strowman clotheslined Fatu out of the ring. So here comes Nick Aldis. And he walks out.
Off is a direction you can fuck.
David Thiering says, I have a message I have a message for Joe also. Off is the direction you can fuck. This is the follow-up response.
You suck.
It works so well, doesn't it, David? It just works so well. Look at this. We're almost halfway to the freaking super chat goal. Thank you, David. Thank you very much. Broken Kayfabe says, "Holy smokes, Smackdown happened." I don't know what Smackdown is. I don't watch that show each week. I watch SmackDown. I don't know about Smackdown. So here comes Nick Aldis. And he said that since they're fixing for a fight and there's 3 of you and there's 3 of you, how about a 6-man tag team match starting right now? Can you imagine them adding U.S. tag team titles? We already see the situation with the tag team titles they already have. I don't want to be giving them any fucking ideas. So it was LA Knight, Jimmy Uso, and Braun Strowman taking on Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and Tama Tonga. This was not for the U.S. tag team titles, by the way.
Row, row, Roman Reigns gently down the stream. Row, row, Roman Reigns gently down the stream.
We're rowing down the stream here. We're rowing down the stream with Roman Reigns. Thank you, David, and thank you, David. We had 2 Davids, actually. We have David Thiering, and we have David Ruiz. Thank you, brother. I'm going to read your messages here in a little bit. Nico says, U.S. tag titles, you say. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Jimmy said it. I'm sure LA Knight was looking at him like, what the fuck? Solo takes Jimmy to the corner for a running hip attack. Tag to Jacob. Crowd was chanting for Jimmy to get back into the match. And he does. He keeps Fatu away long enough for the tag to LA Knight. So the champ lays in some strikes. Fatu quickly fights back. He sends LA Knight to the corner. Fatu charges at him, but the champion dodges. He sets up for his leaping elbow off the top. Solo Sikoa distracts him, and Fatu gets back into it. We get another break. Later on, there was a running attack by Solo. LA Knight fights back. He crawls over for the tag, but he gets interrupted by Tama Tonga before pulling away for the hot tag to Braun Strowman. And he comes into the ring, and he mows all of them down. And they all rolled out of the ring, and so Strowman followed suit, and you know what came next. It was the running of the bulls in Pamplona. It is the Strowman Express. Believe it or not, I didn't know that it was in service overseas, but apparently, is there a track? How is that possible? Is there a track that runs from the U.S. across the ocean to Barcelona? Apparently, maybe it's an underground railroad. Aha, you see, I knew this guy was a trailblazer. Look at him. Doesn't he look like one? So we had the Strowman Express, and he mows down Solo outside. He mows down Jacob. He mows down Tama. LA Knight took out Solo outside with a basement drop kick through the ropes to the floor. Jimmy hit a tope that sent Fatu sailing over the announce desk. And back in the ring, Strowman put Tama Tonga away with the running power slam to win it for the babyfaces. Solo Sikoa, though, gets back in the ring. And he takes down Strowman with a Samoan spike. LA Knight, he drags Solo out of the ring, clotheslines him over the barricade. They fight into the crowd. Meanwhile, Jacob Fatu, he recovers, right? He got knocked over the announce desk, okay, and landed on the floor. So now he has recovered, and he gets back to his feet. And he mows down Strowman. Now they're in the ring now. And he lands the mighty moonsault off the top rope. But he wasn't done. Hits the ropes in a different corner. And he hits another mighty moonsault. Then he goes and he heads up top and he hits a third mighty moonsault. And he just makes it look so easy, right? I mean, he just, 3 of these things. The double jump moonsault, 3 different times. Lands it perfectly each time. And the fans, of course, cheer him like a babyface because you see somebody go up and do that move 3 times in a row. That's a babyface spot. You're not going to boo that. So, of course, they cheered for him. And at that point, he walked out with Tama Tonga. I would say they made their way maybe, I don't know, 90% down the aisleway. And he turns around and he runs by himself. He runs back down to ringside, where by now Braun Strowman is back up and he's licking his wounds, and he's standing conveniently. He's standing over by the timekeeper's barricade, and he runs right through him and right through the barricade. Fatu got more of the barricade, if we're being honest, than he did of Braun Strowman, but they still collapsed the barricade, and then Fatu got up and left. Solo Sikoa is still being awfully nice to Jacob Fatu. He's been very forgiving of the way that Jacob has been eyeballing him and treated him when he first came back to SmackDown. I've been waiting to see, because there were a couple of miscommunications in matches where Solo hit him by accident, he hit Solo by accident, and it looked like we were trending towards a match between them at WrestleMania. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe the plan is not to rush into that just yet. Because we had Jimmy Uso come out at the beginning of the show, right? Big Jim. And he comes out and he said, well, I mean, he said he wanted the US Tag Team titles, but let's forget that for a second. He told LA Knight, I'm desperate. My road to WrestleMania hasn't begun. I want to fight you. I want to challenge you for the United States Championship. So maybe the play, since they seem to be trending towards a lot of triple threat matches on this WrestleMania card this year, maybe the idea is that LA Knight is going to end up defending the US title in a triple threat match. And that triple threat match may involve Jimmy Uso and Jacob Fatu. Now, you could always throw in Solo Sikoa and make it a four-way, but I'm thinking, since he seems to be very deferential to Solo lately, like Solo's going to hold the titles, Solo's going to get the spot. Maybe that's the match. Maybe it's not Jacob and Solo in Las Vegas. Maybe it's a three-way match. So we'll see. Let's get this clown off my screen. Taking up half the screen there. Oh, I should have kept him there. He was protecting me from Brema as soon as he left. Look at that. He's like my guardian angel. He's like my security geek. As soon as I got rid of him, Bree mode pops up. Good Lord. Not Boris has just subscribed. See, I wonder if that's Joe under a different name. Hey, Nathan, what's going on? Welcome to the channel, brother. Again, if you're joining late, your eyes do not deceive you. I was one of those folks who watched SmackDown early today via VPN since they were international. So I said, what the hell? Let's go live early. Instead of waiting until 11:30 at night, let's go live early. So they recapped. Oh, wait, I got an image I got to show you. You're going to love that. Either you're going to love this or you're going to hate this, but they recapped the return of Jade Cargill at the Elimination Chamber, where she attacked Naomi. And then last week's segment with Bianca Belair and Naomi, right? The days of their lives in the ring, crying, tears streaming down their face. Naomi revealing that, yes, I was the one who attacked Jade. And then as Bianca is leaving, of course, she says, you ungrateful bitch. Jade comes out, lays out Naomi for the second time in a week. So we finally got the admission from Naomi that she was the culprit. But it was perfect because consider who Naomi is married to. Naomi is married to Jimmy Uso, which means Rikishi is her father-in-law. And of course, Rikishi is well known for an angle on Raw many years ago where he stood in the middle of the ring and he said, I did it. He ran down Stone Cold Steve Austin. I did it for The Rock. So we had Naomi, his daughter-in-law, on the show last week, standing in the middle of the ring saying, I did it. I attacked Jade. And if you want to see the stuff of nightmares, okay, this right here is what the term nightmare fuel was created for. I don't know who put this together. I don't know. I don't know who put this together. Okay? I truly, I don't. But whoever did, yes, that was my reaction. Tell me that that is not something that will haunt your dreams. I did it for Bianca. But she did it. She's the culprit. So earlier today, Kathy, please get that. Oh my God. That's just, wow. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So earlier in the day, Kathy Kelly interviewed Jade Cargill in an empty arena and asked her how she was doing after everything that has happened recently. And Jade said physically, she's physically, she's more than okay. She looks fucking amazing. But seeing Naomi crying about all of her struggles and how she's the victim, how pathetic. Thinking that she needed to use anybody, she being Jade, thinking that I needed to use anybody to get to where I'm going as if I needed a handout. Naomi thought that she could dictate what Jade deserves. How's that working out for her right now? So Kathy asked her, how did you know that Naomi was the attacker? And was there a reason that you didn't alert anybody sooner? See, Kathy Kelly asking the questions that we are all wondering. It's a valid question. When did she find out? And if she found out earlier, how come she waited so long to let Bianca or anybody else know? Right? Perfectly valid question. She didn't really answer the question. She said all she can recall is being hit and thrown onto a car. And as everything grew dark, she can recall seeing Naomi running away. That was her big sis, right? They were the big three. She didn't just attack her physically, she attacked her loyalty. She attacked her heart. How can you trust anybody again after that? And to see Bianca tag with her after that as if nothing ever happened, she knew that she had to take matters into her own hands. So all of a sudden, in the middle of this interview, they are interrupted by Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, who were rolling their suitcases into the arena, and they were laughing at Jade. So Jade stands up and she tells them, not right now, this is not the time. And Liv was mad because the two of them had been getting blamed and accused for weeks because of her. They called Jade a joke. Jade said, since I'm such a joke, she doesn't need a title to take on that ass. And she'll be seeing Liv next week. Liv told her, just try to make sure you didn't get pushed onto any cars between now and then. And they left, and Jade got up and left too. So that was the end of the interview with Kathy Kelly. That was it. And, look, if Naomi is going to hit back next week, we didn't have Naomi on the show. If Naomi is going to be back in Italy, because they're going to be in Bologna, Italy next week for SmackDown. And if Naomi is going to be on the show, if she's going to clap back at Jade, I still think she's going to end up needing help. Maybe not next week, but as the weeks roll on, I still think that we may end up with Naomi and a couple of people there to help fight her battles for her. And whether or not that's the Meta 4 girls from NXT, which I talked about a few weeks ago, or anybody else, somebody currently on the main roster, I don't know who that would be. It could be a good way for them to call a couple of ladies up from NXT if they wanted to. And the Meta 4 girls, Lash Legend, Jakara Jackson, we've already seen them on SmackDown. So it's not like they haven't been on the show before. That's one way they could go with it, but we'll see how that goes. But next week, it's going to be Jade Cargill one-on-one against Liv Morgan. We had Charlotte Flair in her singles return against B-Fab. This was Charlotte's first singles match since December of 2023. That was the match where she got injured when she was wrestling Asuka. And I want you to think about this. The last televised singles match, it may have been the last singles match period, that Asuka had in this company was also that very same night in December of 2023. All the matches that she had after that before she got hurt were all tags, trios. So that was both of their last singles match on TV in WWE. So Charlotte was laying into B-Fab here, and she was getting "fuck you, Charlotte" chants. Charlotte mocks them by giving them a one-finger salute, just a little bit off screen. And while she had B-Fab in a chinlock, then I'm sure is going to get people talking. She ripped off Stephanie Vaquer's move, where she basically gets the head scissors, she turns over, and she rams the person's face over and over again, face smash into the mat. That's going to get some people very angry. B-Fab manages to, and she didn't do it as well as Stephanie does. B-Fab manages to find an opening, though. She takes Charlotte to the corner for a roundhouse kick. Charlotte, though, fights back with a boot. Charlotte catches a pump kick to the face, though, only for a 2 count. So Flair drops her with a natural selection, and then she ends up winning the match with a figure 8. but she will not release the hold. They're ringing the bell. She won't let go of the hold. So they play Tiffany Stratton's music, and she runs down to the ring. She had a little struggle there with the bottom rope as she was trying to get into the ring. But she slides in, and she got to her feet. Charlotte double-legged her down. Here come the officials. They pour out to separate them. Charlotte breaks free. She dives at Tiffany in the corner. So they got separated a second time. So now Tiffany's outside the ring. And she drags Charlotte under the bottom rope out of the ring. And again, they had to be separated, this time on the floor outside. Tiffany comes flying in off the ring steps, and she takes Charlotte down. Charlotte gets up, and she climbs on top of the announce desk, and she jumps off the announce desk onto Tiffany, and they both go down. So they got him finally around to the other side of the ring, the opposite side, where the announce desk is. And Tiffany Stratton dives off the top rope with a senton, nowhere near Charlotte. Although Charlotte sold it and she fell down, but so did everybody else. Really, she landed on the pile of security geeks and everybody falls down. So that looks like that's the way this segment is going to end, right? They tell us that Miz TV is up next. And the Miz is going to have Cody Rhodes on as his guest tonight, the WWE Champion, right? So they go to a commercial break. When they come back, Miz had already made his entrance. So now Miz is in the ring and they're ready to begin the segment. And he barely even gets a word out. We hear a commotion, and they cut back to the set, the aisleway. Tiffany and Charlotte have now brawled back out into the arena, and they're trying to separate these two, and for the life of them, they just can't do it. Tiffany ends up on top of the set, and Charlotte is down below with everybody. She dives off and does a senton off the top of the set, and again landed nowhere near Charlotte. I don't know if she can't pick her out, like which one looks like Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte is pretty distinguishable. She got the long blonde hair. She's pretty tall. I mean, I don't know who she's looking for. It's not like Where's Waldo here. So she missed her for the second time here. And she landed mostly on security. But everybody went tumbling down. I thought that the match, this was the first time. This had to be the longest match that B-Fab has had as a single on SmackDown, or maybe ever on television. I didn't clock the exact time that the match went, but she got a lot of time, and I didn't think that she looked bad in there. We just don't get a chance to see her very often. And when she got called up to the main roster, she wasn't ready. She's somebody who would have benefited from spending more time down in NXT. And honestly, they don't run very many house shows anymore. I don't know if she's at the PC, if she's continuing to train. I don't know. But I thought in this match, she looked good. You know, it looked great, but she looked good. We only got a chance to see her as far as like basic stuff that she could do. But I thought she looked good for the time that she was given in this match. The angle, I liked the angle. I liked the way that they extended the brawl into the opening of the next segment. That was different. That was different. That was fun. And this was, I think, exactly what they needed to do, because the last few weeks, it's been very basic, very like flat, you know, what they've done with these two women. So this woke the crowd up. This had the crowd, you know, loud. They had to separate them literally 5 or 6 times. They leave, they come back out. So again, her aim, boy, I wouldn't want to put a gun in Tiffany's hand. I certainly wouldn't want to be an innocent bystander standing on the sidewalk if she was aiming this way. Her aim was not great here, but I like what they did. Now, again, they have another 4 weeks, so we'll see what the next month holds, but I'm sure there'll be a contract signing in there somewhere. Oh boy, always love those. But I like the angle. I thought what they did tonight was fun. Fun is not normally a word, though, that I would associate with Miz TV, which is what we had after this. Cody Rhodes makes his entrance. His eye is healing. His eye seems to be healing nicely. And he comes down and, you know, he goes through the whoa. And by the time he gets to the ring, you know how he stands on the second rope outside, and then, you know, we get the second whoa. Well, Miz interrupts the second whoa. He cuts off Cody's entrance, says, look, I don't have time for sing-along with Cody Rhodes. He's already been interrupted by Tiffy time, he says. Cody doesn't stand for any of this shit. He gets into the ring, he attacks the Miz, and he lays him out with a crossroads. And so ended this installment of Miz TV. I think that deserves a round of applause. because I was dreading this fucking segment. Miz TV. I don't even know why they bother with this shit anymore. Thankfully, we didn't have to worry about Miz TV this week. Cody takes the microphone. He kept it short and sweet. He said that he doesn't want to talk to The Miz. He doesn't want to talk to anybody else unless their name is John Cena. If he can find it worth his time to join us, John, on the road to WrestleMania next Monday, just know I'll be there too. Which, of course, we already knew because on Monday night they said that John Cena will be on Raw next week and Cody Rhodes will be under the same roof with him for the first time since Elimination Chamber. So we didn't learn anything new here in this segment. He just basically regurgitated what they told us on Monday night. So this was a waste of time. But for the fans in Barcelona, more so a waste of time for us. For the fans in Barcelona, for the fans in the building that night, they got to see the WWE Champion, right? They didn't get to see The Rock. They didn't get to see John Cena, but they got to see Cody Rhodes. So they were happy. Now, as far as Cena's return this Monday, again, I don't know. I would imagine they aired the same commercial here during the US feed that is still currently on USA right now. But I'm watching the feed earlier on Netflix. They go to commercial, and they aired an ad for a Raw this Monday where they showed some highlights of John Cena's heel turn from the Elimination Chamber and the post-show press conference. And they showed Triple H at the press conference, who was talking about the angle that night. This is in the commercial to hype up Monday Night Raw. This aired on the show tonight. They used a clip of Triple H in this commercial where he said, he's talking about John Cena now. He says, I don't know what he will do as a heel. This is how they're promoting Raw this Monday night. Boy, you know, John Cena's a heel now. No telling what he's going to do on the show because he's a heel. You know, all the people who got really upset at that actress, Damaris, right? Damaris Jackson, I think her name is, for quote unquote exposing the business at AEW Revolution last weekend when she took the microphone, and she says that that's not what her intent was, but the way it came off is basically like, hey, all you wrestlers, I know you guys know who's going to win before anybody else, you know, because this shit's fake. And everybody jumped on her for it, and that was and made fun of her for it, and it was just an embarrassing thing to happen before your main event on your pay-per-view. But for all the people who jumped on her for that, you know, all the kayfabe warriors out there and everything. I don't know about you. I heard this in this commercial, and I had flashbacks to when Vince Russo was booking WCW. And there was a pay-per-view, and I don't remember which pay-per-view it was. But it was something involving Goldberg and Russo, and they were feuding at the time, and they were talking about the script in the commercial to hype up the pay-per-view, right? He didn't follow the script. And I'm like the douche chills, even to this day, when I come across that clip, that just all over my body. Ugh. When I'm watching the actual wrestling show, there are certain things that we should never hear about. Okay. Yes. Kayfabe is dead and social media and everybody know. Yeah. We already know that. Okay. But when I'm watching the show, I don't want to hear about heels and baby faces on the show talking about heels and baby faces. I don't want to hear about a script. I don't want to hear about any of that shit. And it's the company putting this out. Why they would focus on Triple H in that clip in their commercial for the show, I have no idea. I don't know. It did not sit well with me. Very strange. But as far as Raw Monday night, it's all about that John Cena promo. It's that first John Cena promo. What's he going to come out to? Is he going to come out to his current music? Is he going to come out to the Doctor of Thugonomics? Is he going to come out to something completely new? Is he going to come out to the music he wanted to use in 2012? The new track that he laid down that he never got to use? I don't know. What's he going to look like? What's he going to say? What's the explanation going to be? After 20 years, he sold his soul to The Rock. Why? We're going to find out, I hope, on Monday. Maybe not. But there are certain things that I'm looking for and I'm hoping for. I don't know if we're going to get a face-to-face with him and Cody. I don't know if Cody's going to try to come at him. And Adam Pearce is going to have an army of security to keep them apart. I don't know. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see this first John Cena promo on Monday night. That is going to be must-see TV. And if you did miss the Raw review on Monday, I should say that people have been asking, like, what's the plan? Because it's going to air live on Netflix at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And you're not going to need a VPN for that. I'm going to watch the show live on Monday. And the plan right now is to go live probably around 8 o'clock. Instead of waiting until, 10:30, 11 o'clock like we do every Monday. I'm not going to go live right after, but probably around 8 p.m. So you guys can go have dinner. You could, have a quickie with your girlfriend, whatever you want to do. Grab a snack, and then we'll go live on the YouTube channel around 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday night. So that is the plan. Cena did not follow the script, bro. Yeah, bro. He didn't follow the script, bro. This is wrestling, bro. It's not real, bro. It's just wrestling. Fuck out of here. Ugh. All right, so backstage earlier, we see Nick Aldis. And he is admonishing Shinsuke Nakamura for misting the referee last week in his U.S. title match with LA. Now, of course, it was an accident, but he did spit the red mist in poor Charles Robinson's face. Nakamura said that all he wants is a rematch. Damian Priest, he interrupts. He wants to know, where is Drew McIntyre? And Aldis says, I don't know, but I heard that he left the building. Do with that what you wish. So Nakamura interrupted, and Priest asked him if he had something to say. And he said some stuff in Japanese. Priest said he didn't understand what he just said. So then he said something in Spanish, and I didn't understand what he said. So I didn't understand anything that was going on here in this segment here. But then finally he translated, and he said he's looking for a fight. He wants to give Nakamura a beating. And so Nick Aldis made the match for later in the show. Don Juan, you keep that to yourself, Don Juan. You can have a quickie with anybody you want. Don Juan says, quickie with both my hands. Hey, you take that to the back, okay? I don't want to hear about that. What you do pre-stream is of no concern to me. As long as you are here and your hands free, that's all I care about. By the way, we had Nakamura wrestling on this show. Remember last week when all of those engagement farming accounts online said that Nakamura lost the U.S. title last week to LA Knight because his brother died, and so he was in mourning and he was probably going to take time off, even though he doesn't have a brother to my knowledge, and the person who died was a friend of his who happened to be a fellow wrestler that he looked at as like an older brother. He said, like an older brother. This somehow turned into Shinsuke Nakamura's brother died. And so he probably has to go away and mourn for a while. So we may not see him. The next week, he's in a fucking match on this show. That's why I say, don't listen to random Twitter accounts, okay? WrestleVotes is one thing. WrestleVotes is a completely different thing among all of these other stupid accounts that are out there. And so it was. Damian Priest, one-on-one against Shinsuke Nakamura. But before we get into this, we had a segment. Very brief, but it will be one of the more talked about segments on the show tonight, coming out of this show. I'm going to throw a photo up here on the screen for you because this is a screenshot, okay, from this vignette that aired. No text, no message, but this is one of the images that we saw. Now, clearly, and this is not the best image to show you, but in the vignette, it was very clear. You see the red background, and there's smoke, and there was some lightning in it as well. But we had the silhouette of a new superstar coming soon. It didn't say to SmackDown. It didn't say to Raw. The guy was clearly wearing a mask, and it sure looked like the first teaser for the impending arrival of Rey Fenix. So it looks like he is on his way sooner than later, before WrestleMania. I would be surprised, honestly, if they put him and Penta on different brands. But if they want to push him as a single, I actually think that would be really smart to keep them apart. But we just don't know. Just because they aired this on SmackDown does not mean that this man is going to SmackDown. For all we know, they could air this same vignette on Raw this Monday, and then it doesn't mean anything. He could pop up on any show They may air this on NXT for all we know. We don't know. But it sure did feel like this. I mean, it's just right there. There it is, right? Rising from the ashes, Fenix. And even if that isn't for him, which I think it is, but even if it isn't, he is on his way imminently to WWE. But it would surprise me if he did not end up paired off with Penta in some way. If they want to continue the Penta singles push, he's done so well so far. I don't mind that at all. I mean, Penta, I think, has done very well so far in these last couple of months. I don't know if Fenix is great. Like, in the ring, the things he can do, he's a very flashy, very dynamic in-ring performer who will get over, I think, based on the in-ring. Whereas Penta, it's not just about his in-ring. Penta just has a charisma that we don't see out of Fenix when we see him on TV. With Fenix, it's more, I guess, of a physical charisma just based on the stuff he does in his matches. Penta just has something different. And that has a lot to do, I think, with how quickly he has gotten over on TV. I don't know if Fenix will be able to get over in that same way. But we'll see. If they're going to separate them out, though, and let them have singles runs, it probably is better to have them on separate shows. You could always reunite them. The Lucha Bros can always be a thing. But given the state of the tag team division right now, I mean, it's not exactly booming on either brand. I don't necessarily want to see Fenix or Penta, more so than Fenix, toiling away in the tag team division if we can be doing stuff with him as a single, which we really didn't get in AEW. He was in AEW for 5 years, coming out of Lucha Underground, where he was this big star. Not as a partner of Rey Fenix, as Pentagon Jr., Pentagon Dark. And in AEW, by and large, I mean, not that he didn't have any singles matches, but he wasn't pushed as a single. He was a tag team guy. And we never got that singles run. So I would hate to see the singles run come to an end now. Maybe they separate them out. But keeping them, if that's the plan, on separate brands, that would be the smart way to go with it. So in this match here, with Priest and Nakamura, we got 2 commercial breaks. Nakamura stays on top of Priest with a chin lock. As Priest fights back to his feet, he goes after Nakamura with some strikes, catches him with a boot, followed by a Falcon Arrow. That led to Nakamura taking a breather on the outside. Doesn't last long. Priest is in hot pursuit. He slams him against the announce table before bringing him back inside for his version of old school. And Priest drops him, and he's getting ready for the finish. But he turns, and he spots Drew McIntyre, who's very casually leaned up against the announce desk outside with a big smirk on his face. This distracts Priest long enough for Nakamura to roll him up for a near fall. Nakamura sets up for the Kinshasa, but Priest catches him coming in with a South of Heaven chokeslam. Before he could even cover him and go for the win, Drew McIntyre hits the ring. He attacks Damian Priest. The referee throws the match out, calls for the disqualification. They fight. McIntyre sticks his thumbs right in Priest's eyes, so now he's blinded. And he's on his knees, and this gives Nakamura the opportunity to blast him in the back of the head with a Kinshasa. So McIntyre and Nakamura, they exchange looks briefly, and then Nakamura leaves. The crowd is chanting for CM Punk, apparently not realizing what day of the week it is. McIntyre throws Priest outside, then into the barricade, and then into another barricade. McIntyre grabs the ring steps, he lifts him up over his head, drives them right into Damian's face. So McIntyre starts to leave, but then he turns and he spots Damian Priest has pulled himself back into the ring. And this angers him. And so McIntyre runs back down, gets into the ring. He wipes him out with a Claymore kick. And then he drops down and he starts yelling at Priest. You screwed me. This whole year took advantage of every one of my moments. I have nothing now but making your life a living hell. You see, this is what happens when you screw him out of the World Heavyweight Championship. This is what happens when you eliminate him from the Royal Rumble. This is what happens when you eliminate him from the Elimination Chamber. And this is what happens when you take away this man's goal, his dream of headlining WrestleMania and getting back his championship. He's turning it right back around on Damian Priest. You get a receipt. You get a receipt. You hear that, Travis Scott? This was Damian Priest's receipt. And he's going to make his life a living hell every week between now and WrestleMania. So that's what Damian Priest found out here. So look, the build has begun. We all have known for a while now that this is going to be the match. This is going to be the direction for WrestleMania. We'll see if McIntyre's social media trolling and his promos can help sort of elevate this to a level beyond just sort of basic feud, which is what it feels like right now. I don't think that Damian Priest can match wits with him on the mic. He's not a bad promo, but he's not Drew McIntyre. McIntyre just completely elevated his game to a whole different level last year. And so you put him and CM Punk in like promo battles together, and he more than held his own. I don't think Priest is quite at that level. But maybe we can get some fun back and forth, between these two on the road to Mania. In the back, Chelsea Green was flanked by her Secret Service, which now includes Alba Fire along with Piper Niven. Zelina Vega pops in. She says that she's looking to become the new United States champion. But Piper interjects and says that she's got to go through them to get to the champion. And Vega accepts and says that after next week, Chelsea and the title are all hers. We had Randy Orton against Carmelo Hayes. This was Randy Orton's first singles match since October when he wrestled Javon Evans on NXT.
I am the Lord.
Shut the fuck up. Fuck that tree. I said NXT. I did not say the learning tree. Holiday, thank you for the $12. I didn't say the learning tree. By the way, how about that NXT show on Tuesday night? That Roadblock show, how great was that? I'll talk about that on the podcast this weekend. So they sang Orton's song as he walked out here in Barcelona. Carmelo disrespected him at the beginning of this match by flaking out on a handshake, so Orton gave him the 10 punches in the corner. Actually, it was 9. The 9 punches in the corner, and then he rammed him. He posted him into the ring post. But he was punching him in the corner as the crowd chanted along in Spanish. And then outside the ring, he dropped Hayes on top of the announce desk. They go to a break. They come back. Carmelo is in control. That did not last very long. Orton hit his snap power slam. He tried for the draping DDT. Melo countered. He went for a springboard something off the ropes. Orton caught him coming off the ropes into another power slam, only for a near fall. Hayes came back with a springboard rebound DDT on Orton. Orton was on his knees with his back turned. So this looked great. And he DDTs Orton into the mat. He called for the finish. He headed up top. Looked like he was going to go for nothing but net, but Orton cut him off, and he delivered a superplex from the middle rope. If you're on the middle rope, is it really appropriate to call it a superplex? Right, the superplex is from the top rope, so we got to come up with another name for it. It's just the suplex. Right? I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to call it a superplex when I see it, the person delivering it is on the middle rope. But anyway, so he delivers the suplex. Orton drops to the mat. He's signaling for the RKO. Hayes shoved off, though. Nailed the first 48. But then Orton came right, basically no-sold it, and came right back and hit an RKO out of nowhere. 1, 2, 3. Randy Orton picks up the win here in Barcelona. This was a fun match. There were some pretty cool spots I thought that they pulled off here. And Hayes looked good, but I mean, again, this is the story of all of his matches here on SmackDown. He goes out there and has good matches, and he looks great in the ring, but he loses. It's the Chad Gable thing from Monday Night Raw. Chad Gable can have a good match in his fucking sleep. That's not up for debate. We know how good Chad Gable is bell to bell and how entertaining he can be, but the man never wins a match. He can't win a match to save his life. Carmelo Hayes is suffering from the same thing right now on SmackDown. So when it was over, Orton picked him up. He wanted a handshake. Melo shoved him away, and so Orton dropped him with another RKO. And then Orton had another idea. The voices started talking to him. And he got Hayes in position for the punt kick, and he backed up into the corner. When he came charging in for it, though, Hayes wasn't there. He wasn't there because Kevin Owens pulled Carmelo Hayes out of the ring. Where the fuck did this guy come from? Why is he coming out now? He comes out after the match. So he pulled him out of the ring. Orton goes outside after Owens, who sent Orton into the ring post. And then Owens escaped into the crowd. So I thought this was very weird. That Owens shows up only after the match and does so to save Carmelo Hayes, and then he just leaves. So it just felt like they had to come up with a way to get him on the show, and this is what they came up with. I'm more interested, honestly, in the announcement they made earlier today that Backlash is coming not to the Tokyo Dome. Sorry, Dave. Or all the people who thought that it was going to Mexico City. I'm telling you, man, Wessel Votes is just a menace. So it's not going international this year. Backlash is coming to St. Louis, Missouri. So they had Randy Orton in the video on the WWE Twitter account, obviously St. Louis hometown guy, make the announcement that Backlash is coming to St. Louis on May 10th. And that has to be, it has to be, the main event has to be Randy Orton against John Cena. How could it be anything else? How could it be anything else? The only other thing it could be is Randy Orton challenging Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. But you've got John Cena as a heel. I don't want John Cena as a heel for 6 weeks. I want John Cena as a heel for 6 months. I'll even take 4 months. So I'm hoping this heel turn goes beyond WrestleMania. And if John Cena is going to win the title, and frankly, even if he doesn't, but it works even better if he does, and we have a heel WWE champion John Cena as a heel defending that title in the main event in St. Louis against Randy Orton in front of those people, his people, that's your main event for Backlash. It shouldn't be anything else. And that way you could also get that, I presume it would be the last John Cena-Randy Orton match, which we have to get at least once this year. Like, it's just the perfect main event for that show. Title or not, but the title obviously would make it better. Title would take it to a whole other level, especially in front of those fans. So that's the main event, hopefully, that we'll get at Backlash. In the back, Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga were psyching up Jacob Fatu and telling him to run the play. And Jacob then cut a promo on Braun Strowman because the two of them are running it back next week. They didn't say that it was going to be any kind of stipulation match or anything, but we're getting Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu again next week. Now, after this, we got another mystery vignette, our second one of the night. This one, it was a black screen, and there was smoke, and then the number 4 appeared. That was it. Literally, that was it. There was nothing, there were no other hints or clues or anything else. Of course, the first thing people were talking about, though, Aleister Black. It has to be for Aleister Black. He's coming back. Yes, he's coming back. I'm sure he's coming back. But there was literally nothing else in this vignette to give any indication of who this would be for. I thought the same thing. Because your mind immediately goes to, when you see vignettes like this, your mind goes to, who are like the top free agents out there right now? Well, it just so happens that Tony Khan let a whole bunch of people go. One of them is already in NXT. And then you have Aleister Black, and then you have Miro, and then you have Rey Fenix. I promise you this wasn't for Miro. Although I expect him to come back too at some point. 4 can mean anything. 4 can mean that it's 4 weeks before we get the debut of whoever this person is. We'll find out, because if we come to SmackDown next week and then there's another one and it says 3, then we know it's a countdown of some kind. And whoever it's going to be is going to debut probably that second week in April. So it won't take very long to find out if that's what it is. Black ending up on SmackDown would make sense to me, because Zelina Vega is on the show. If he's going to go to either show, that would be the one. I mean, it does not a guarantee. Yeah, you got Ludwig Kaiser on Raw and you got Tiffany Stratton on SmackDown. So it's not like every couple is, paired off on the same show. But I do think it probably makes it more likely, which would take him out of any possibility of, having any affiliation with the Judgment Day, because Dominic Mysterio, he's been teasing a new member now for weeks and weeks, and Finn Balor keeps saying no. And there's been a lot of talk about maybe Aleister Black, being the new leader of the Judgment Day and trying to reform the group in some way. And maybe we get Black and Balor at WrestleMania. I don't know how likely that is, but that would be a Raw thing. That would not be a SmackDown thing. But it's smart. We have 2 different vignettes. Now, this is going to get people talking all week long. Who is it? Who's it for? Where are they going? What are they going to do with this person? If they're on SmackDown, who are they going to feud with? It just gets people talking. But literally, they did not give us any other indication or clue in this video about who this is for. We were then graced by an appearance. Jesse says Jeff Cobb's. It's Jeff Cobb, by the way. Jeff Cobb. There are rumors about Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb is still wrestling in the New Japan Cup, at least for another few days. He may end up back in WWE. But no, I don't think that was for Jeff Cobb. So we were then graced by an appearance in full gear by the World Heavyweight Champion from Monday Night Raw, the ring general Gunther, comes down to the ring. And he says the road to WrestleMania starts in Europe, so the greatest European wrestler of all time had to be there. So that was the reason that he was on the show tonight, because he's from Europe, so he felt compelled to be there. They're going to be in Europe every week for the next 3 weeks, but this was his rationale for being on the show tonight. And he says, I do wish, though, that it would have started in Madrid. So the people booed. He shifts his focus to Jey Uso. Says the people love him, but in the ring, that doesn't mean a thing. And he turns his attention to another challenge. He said he heard that there was a kid from here in Spain, and everybody cheered because they knew who he was talking about. And so, of course, it turns out to be the former A-Kid, Axiom. One half of Fraxium, one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions, one half of arguably the greatest tag team in wrestling right now. And he comes out, he gets a great reaction. He was born in Spain. He was born in Madrid. So these two had a longer, more competitive match than you may think, especially Gunther is the World Heavyweight Champion. He's going into WrestleMania. Axiom has been exclusively, well, maybe not exclusively. He's been in TNA also recently, but we certainly haven't seen him on the main roster. He's pretty much been exclusive to NXT. But he is one half of, again, arguably the best tag team, I think, right now going in wrestling. And they gave him a lot of hope spots. And obviously, he's from Spain, so they were into all the near falls. They were into all of his offense, and it made for a fun atmosphere here during the match. Crowd ate it up. So late in the match, Axiom got Gunther on the top turnbuckle. He was attempting, I believe it was a Rana. And Gunther held on. And so he was looking for a power bomb, but instead, Axiom turned it into a Rana all the way down to the mat. Axiom got a great near fall, though, after hitting his golden ratio kick late in the match. Fans really bought into it. And also, he looked to have the champion fading when he trapped him in a Rings of Saturn. Gunther, though, powered out. He hit a power bomb and a clothesline before one final power bomb with a stack got the win and put Axiom away. This was a great showing for Axiom. There was no Nathan Fraser. He came out by himself. And, of course, being from there, the people knew it. They knew exactly who he was. They loved him. They were into everything. And after the match, Gunther locked in a sleeper. Axiom fades. Here come the officials. They come down to intervene. Gunther finally breaks the hold, and he stands tall with his title. Since the triple threat match that Gunther had in December on Saturday night's main event with Finn Balor and Damian Priest, Gunther's televised matches include wins over Akira Tozawa, Otis, and Axiom. And in every single one of those matches, the good thing I'll say about it is that he's very good. I mean, so are the people he was in the ring with, but he's very good in these matches. And I think it's a combination of not only him being a good pro wrestler, but he also just knows how to get heat and get under people's skin. You know, he does a very good job of, on the near falls in those matches, convincing people that the other guy, even an Otis, who's never pushed, might have a shot to beat him. Like, they get you like right there on that one near fall. It might just be that one near fall, but they got you. They thought maybe this guy had a shot, right? He's very good at that. And they've been, mostly short matches, but they've been pretty good, what they've done as far as him and his opponent. But you wonder why I say that he feels like a secondary champion when he's out there. And we know it. We already know it. But I don't want them to throw it in our face how much this guy, like Cody is number one and Gunther is way down here. And that's what it feels like. I don't see, Cody Rhodes is not typically on television every single week, having matches with, these mid-card guys on SmackDown, like at random, or throwing out open challenges, thank God, and having matches with people like that on SmackDown. A lot of it has to do with how you present these people. How are they presented on TV? Are they presented like a big deal and like a major star? And I'm not saying Gunther is not presented as a big star, but when you see him out there, especially on the other show that he typically is not even on, and he's in the middle of the show wrestling one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions, and this guy's on the road to defending his world heavyweight title at WrestleMania against somebody who a portion of the crowd already believes doesn't belong in the main event to begin with. And you've got Jey Uso on Raw palling around with Alpha Academy. It just makes him feel less than. And I wish that wasn't the case, but that's how it feels when he's out there. Now we got a video package recapping the excellent steel cage match at Madison Square Garden on Raw Monday night with Seth Rollins and CM Punk, which ended with Roman Reigns making his return and pulling Seth Rollins out of the cage, which gave him the win. That was how he got his revenge for the Royal Rumble. He helped him win the cage match, and then, of course, he beat the shit out of him. But then he turns and he sees Paul Heyman in the ring, in the cage, consoling CM Punk. And he enters the cage and he beats up CM Punk. And Roman Reigns was the last man standing on Monday night. Come back live. Paul Heyman is in the ring here in Barcelona. And he says that he has a need to address two pieces of business here tonight. The first order of business, today is Roman Reigns Day. It's Roman Reigns Day because Roman Reigns is on the cover of the new video game, and today is the official release day of WWE 2K25. But Heyman asked the fans to wait until SmackDown is over to play the game so that they can keep the ratings high, especially for his segments. Always a promoter. Heyman knows. Heyman knows. So the second order of business involves his friend, the best in the world, CM Punk. And the crowd cheered for Punk. Heyman says that it's not CM Punk Day. And it sure isn't, nor will it ever be Seth freaking Rollins Day. So the crowd begins to sing Seth's song, which Paul says, I hate that freaking song. And then he hypes up that next week in Bologna, we will have the return of the OTC. And the crowd boos this because, of course, they want Roman Reigns tonight in Barcelona, right? They're in Spain. They're not in Italy. So they're not very happy about this. And Heyman says, look, if anybody has a problem with him hating that song or has a problem with Roman Reigns being on the cover of 2K25, they could always buy a plane ticket on Cheapo Airlines and fly over to Bologna. It's not like Mussolini is sitting there keeping them from crossing the border. So he promises that Roman will address things further live on SmackDown, and that is not a prediction. That is a spoiler. And he got booed. Fans were not happy with Paul Heyman after this promo. And they gave us nothing as far as any real follow-up to what we saw on Monday or anything, obviously anything about the favor that he owes CM Punk. And I didn't think they were going to address that because it hasn't come up on TV recently. And I didn't expect CM Punk to be on this show. So I didn't have any expectations as far as that goes. But as far as Roman, as far as why he was in the ring with CM Punk, said nothing. Literally was out there to tell you to tune into the show next week. And then maybe we'll get the next chapter in this. Maybe Roman will confront Heyman. I presume he'll confront Paul on that show about what happened, and we'll get some kind of development. But we're going to have to wait a week to find out what that is. And as far as the favor, I talked about this in the Raw review on Monday. I think it could just come down to the matches made between Roman and Seth, maybe next week, because there's obviously issues dating back for a long time between them, and Punk wants in. It would be a little bit underwhelming because they all have issues with each other. So why not just make it a triple threat match from the get-go? But that was my first thought coming out of the show on Monday, is that we saw with Roman, he went right after Seth. And then, yeah, he beat up Punk too, but he went after Seth. Maybe the match gets made. And Punk is like, yeah, I don't like you and I don't like you and I want in on this. And he has Heyman, basically cash that favor in to get him added to the match. It could be as simple as that. I'm actually kind of hoping that there's more to it than just that, though, because I do feel like that would be underwhelming. That match could well end up being your main event on night one of WrestleMania, though. So that would, in effect, give CM Punk the WrestleMania main event that in storyline he's always wanted. Of course, in reality, Punk now is like, I don't really give a shit. I don't really care if I get the WrestleMania main event. Like, he's older now. He doesn't really care. It's part of the storyline at this point. Like CM Punk 10 or 11 or 12 years ago, yeah, he would want to be in the WrestleMania main event, and he was probably bothered that he wasn't. But now it's like he doesn't care. It's like the Shawn Michaels boyhood dream thing. Vince McMahon made that a thing, right? It was the boyhood dream of Shawn Michaels to be at WrestleMania and win the WWF Championship. No, it wasn't. But it made for a great story. And that's really all this is at this point, this whole WrestleMania main event thing. So we go to the back, and Jimmy Uso is sitting there. Gunther sits down next to him and says, I wanted to talk to you. We have some things in common, you and me. I've got a younger brother, and the Usos obviously are twins, but Jimmy is clearly the more mature one. And he asked Jimmy if he saw his match before, and Jimmy says, yeah, I did. And Gunther said, just like Jay, Axiom, he left it all out there. But in the end, he choked him out and he left him laying like a wet towel. So if Jay doesn't step back from his decision to face him at WrestleMania, he'll have to do the same to him. He'll have to hurt him. So he asked Jimmy to have a word with his brother. And Jimmy stands up and he tells him at WrestleMania, the ring general drops rank and drops the world heavyweight title to the main event. And Gunther says, I'm sorry, I was mistaken about your maturity. He goes, I tried. I really did. And he leaves. Gunther should attack Jimmy. He should savage Jimmy Uso next week. Like, we really want to elevate this angle. I mean, there's only so many weeks that he could come out on Monday and just put Jey Uso to sleep in a sleeper hold. He should hit him where it hurts. He should hit him in the family. He should go after Jimmy Uso and lay a beat down on him to get Jay's attention. I think that should be the next thing that he does. Because he told Jay many weeks ago, look, I'm going to make your life a living hell. If you pick me for WrestleMania, these next, I think it was 10 weeks at that point. These next 10 weeks, it's going to be hell on earth for you. I'm going to hurt you. That would be one way of hurting him, to go after his flesh and blood, go after his twin brother. And our main event tonight, it was the Street Profits challenging DIY, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano for the WWE Tag Team titles. During the match, they showed Pretty Deadly. They were standing in the back watching on TV. Joe Tessitore. It's not his fault because, is what they told him to say, but he's on commentary and he says that Pretty Deadly is going to face the winner of this match eventually. Boy, you talk about leaving it open-ended. Eventually, they'll challenge for the tag team title. We could be sitting here a year from now, and they still may not have gotten their tag team title match. So basically, they haven't figured out yet exactly when Pretty Deadly are going to get their shot, but it's going to be eventually. So Gargano is mocking Angelo Dawkins on the apron and forcing a distraction to give DIY a chance to double team Montez Ford in the corner. Gargano lays in some stomps as Ciampa tags in, sending Ford to the corner for a chop. Ciampa sets Montez up in the corner. Montez intercepts. Ciampa uses a ref distraction to set up for an air raid crash off the middle rope. Only got a near fall. So Ciampa goes...
I want your soul.
Uh-oh.
Is that what it is?
I want your soul. JD, give me your soul. I want your soul.
That's not creepy or anything. Hey, King Nader. King Nader brings us to within one of our super chat goal and our quiz that we might do tonight. So thank you for that. Thank you for the $27 super chat. Going to be reading all your messages here probably in about 5 minutes, so get them on in. We're almost done with the review portion here. So Ciampa goes for a fairy tale ending. Ford, though, counters with a back body drop, which forces a tag to Gargano. DIY, they keep him at bay, and they exchange some tags until Ford gets the hot tag to Dawkins, who sends Johnny Gargano out, takes Ciampa down for the near fall. Ciampa fights back for a 450 with a tag to Gargano for a knee and a 2 count. Ford and Gargano, they trade kicks. Both men are down. Dawkins charges at Ciampa on the outside, sends him not through the timekeeper's barricade, which I guess they repaired from earlier in the show, but over the barricade. Gargano goes after Angelo. Profits, though, double team him. Ciampa's attempt to intervene ends with him being sent to the floor before they drop Johnny to the mat for the cover. Ciampa, though, breaks up the pin. So DIY, they land a fairy tale ending super kick combo covered by Ciampa. Dawkins kicks out. DIY, they're looking now to meet in the middle. So they're setting up for the finish. It goes sideways, though. Dawkins drops Ciampa before tagging in Montez Ford, who gets the drop on DIY with a huge frog splash off the top rope. And they get the pin, and they get the win. And for the first time since January of 2021, the Street Profits are tag team champions in WWE. And they celebrate with a round of pyro as they go off the air. And that is why they close with this. That is why this was our main event tonight, because we were getting a title change, and it was a title change that was sorely needed. They had to win the titles here. Once they made the announcement that the Street Profits were challenging for the tag team championships, it was do or die. It was do or die. I mean, for them to lose again here on this show and fall short, I can't even sit here and tell you how many times that would make it. Too many. It would have been horrible. Now, if they would have held off and they would have just done a big tag match, ladder match like they did last year at WrestleMania, kind of lazy to do that again, but they could have. And if the Street Profits had won the titles at WrestleMania, that would have been fine. But they announced the match for this week. And you could not send these two guys who already were out for a few months selling an injury. And they came back, right, dressed in all black, and they were kicking everybody's asses. I don't know if it was meant to be a heel turn or not. Fans certainly were cheering them tonight. But they had a new attitude about them, right? They're wrecking shop. We're not going to stop until you give us our title match. And so Nick Aldis gives them a title match. They had to win. It was absolutely the right call to make. They have tried over the last few months, and I think with conflicted results, they've tried to place more of a focus on the tag team division. Everybody's pissed off at each other. Everybody's angry, right? Everybody's at each other's throats and brawling in the back and all this, and DIY and the Street Profits and the Motor City Machine Guns and Los Garza and Pretty Deadly. And yet it still feels cold. You know, the tag team division still feels colder than it should. And we know Pretty Deadly will eventually, right? I can't even say next. They'll eventually get their tag team title match whenever that is. But then after that, what's it going to be? I mean, are we just going to go right back to the Street Profits and the Machine Guns, or the Street Profits and DIY? Are we just going to go around and around and around? Right? We have to spice things up a little bit. We have to introduce a little bit of variety, whether that means moving teams over from the other brand, whether that means calling up a couple of new teams from NXT and injecting them into the mix. I still feel like there's work to be done, because it still doesn't feel as exciting as it should, even with the number of teams that they have on this show here. And you see it in a lot of these matches. Now, tonight, obviously, here in Barcelona, the fans were into it because fans were into everything on this show. That's what makes these international crowds so great. But week to week, I mean, there are weeks where it's like pulling teeth. And usually the matches are good enough that at least midway or by the end, they get into the action. But not always. And you could just tell. You could tell by just listening and just watching. So I think there's still work to be done. I'm hoping this isn't just the peak for the Street Profits. I fear that it might be. This might be the peak of the mountain for them. Where else do they go from here? Who do they feud with? I don't know. But it was a move that had to be made. It was the right move to make. Now, it also paid off what I thought otherwise was a solid episode of SmackDown. Couldn't hold a candle to the NXT show on Tuesday. It's a little unfair because that was basically a PLE on TV. That's what they gave us. But these international crowds, I mean, they always elevate these shows. This show, I honestly think this show in front of almost any US crowd is a very different show. I really do. I feel like I would not have had as much fun with this show as I had with this one tonight. So the crowd, shout out to them. They definitely helped. And here's hoping we get more of the same on Monday. They're going to be in Brussels, you know, and then next Friday they're going to be in Italy. And the following week, I know that Monday they're going to be in Scotland. I don't know where the other SmackDowns are. I know the final Raw of the month is going to be in London, right? London's always great. So I think these crowds are going to make these shows a lot of fun. And I see that we did, in fact, hit our Super Chat goal tonight. Man. How about that? Even with the early start time here, we achieved our goal, which means that we are going to be doing a quiz here in a little bit, which is going to be very interesting because I don't even know I don't even know what the subject of the quiz is. I was a little confused. It's like, I think it's called 8 and 1. That's the title of it. Like, we've done these before where it's like I have to guess all the names of the WWF champions of all time, right? And that like, I know what that is. So I'm not sure exactly what this one is going to be, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. One thing I do want to mention here before we move on. Tomorrow, House of Glory, City of Dreams at the NYC Arena in Jamaica, Queens. That's where I'll be. And I will be on the call for that show. We have the CEO, the TBS champion, making her HOG debut, Mercedes Moné, coming to New York City for the first time ever one-on-one wrestling Indy Hartwell. One of Indy's first post-WWE matches. I know she won a championship in Australia last weekend, but this is one of her first Indy shots, no pun intended, since leaving WWE, and this is her first match ever with Mercedes, so that's going to be very interesting. Zilla Fatu is going to be wrestling Dijak, and we've got Private Party, we've got Danhausen is going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you can't be at the venue, it's going to be streaming live on Triller TV+. It's going to be a good show. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that you guys will be there or tune in. It's going to be a fun time. All right, let's get to your Super Chat. Before we do anything else, let's get to your Super Chats. And then we got some questions to get to in this quiz. Mr. Noob, nope. That was never announced. You worked yourself into a shoot, brother. Thank you, Mr. Noob. No more titles for Mercedes. I don't think she could carry them any more around. She's already got 4 of them. But no, it will not be a title match. There are no additional titles on the line, so you don't have to worry about that. All right, let's take a look at your questions here. Let me go back to the early ones here. Actually, Callum Davis, shout out to Callum. He was the first one. He says, I got jumped by 6 dwarves the other day. Not happy. Very good. We have got Fire Panda. Always love seeing Fire Panda here on the stream. Yes, no poll. I forgot to mention that. There is no Twitter poll. I didn't put a poll up because the show had not finished airing. There were going to be some people who were not going to be able to. I could have put the poll up, I guess, but I chose not to. So
I have the best moveset.
Hey Nick, thank you for the 1999. So yeah, we're skipping the poll tonight. Fire Panda says favorite Lady Gaga song. I think it would either be Poker Face or Bad Romance. Also, let's say Cena is not the only one who sold his soul to The Rock. Who do you add to the group, and do you do the reveal at WrestleMania, having that be the reason that Cody loses? I don't think they need to add anybody else. If they did, then yes, I would save that reveal for WrestleMania. Who it would be, I have no idea. That's why I just don't think it's necessary. But I feel like it would have to be... Ideally, it would be someone who's not at the level of a Rock or a Cena. It doesn't have to be a major name like an Orton or an AJ Styles or a Seth Rollins or a Drew McIntyre even. I think it could be a good spot to try to elevate somebody else, but I just don't feel like right now that's needed. Thomas with the $4.99. So confused. Solo usually comes on after my evening. Oh, good Lord. Wait, this is like a TMI night here on this stream. I'm not going to read that. You got to keep that to yourself, Thomas. Base Beerus, I love the idea of the retirement tour being fake. Hey, you know what? If it gets us heel Cena for longer, I'm okay with that. Holiday 197, LA Knight against Jacob Fatu is a more appealing WrestleMania match for the US title. Jacob against Solo can be held on a post-WrestleMania pay-per-view. Yeah, like Backlash. If Solo inadvertently causes Jacob to lose or just to not win. Because if it's a triple threat match, Jacob doesn't even have to take the fall. That's why I don't mind it if they want Jimmy in there. That way it gets Jimmy on the show, but then Jacob doesn't have to be the one to take the losing fall. But maybe Solo gets involved thinking he's helping Jacob. He ends up fucking him over. And then we get Jacob against Solo in St. Louis at Backlash. That's absolutely something I could see. Base Beerus says Gypsy Joe. That was from earlier. Thank you, Base Beerus. Oh, yeah, let me check the likes. Where are we on the likes anyway? Oh, okay. Look at that. We're at 420. Light him if you got him. So we'll be doing Be the Booker as well. Boy, you guys came prepared tonight. Holy shit. This is what I like to see. David Thiering, I have a message for Joe. Oh, I read David's already. Yeah, that's for our friend Joe. David, thank you for the 22 and the 23. And we have David Ruiz with the 21. This was my first ever WWE show, and my God, it was a special night for us Spaniards. We were damn loud. Yes, you were. Even on TV, it doesn't do it justice. The floor was shaking at some point. The Axiom and tag title matches were bangers. Yeah, Gunther and Axiom, I would say, best match of the night. Main event was good, but it was really all about just building to that title change. But yeah, you guys were loud, man, on TV. It's always louder in the building than it comes across. It's more muted on TV, but even on TV, you guys came across great. King Nader, thank you for the $25 super chat. Base Beerus, Joe has a burner account, a Trojan horse. We got, tell me if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly or not. I'm going to say Majed and not Majid, because I think that would be an extra E, but Majed, thank you for the $6. First time catching you live due to the time difference, but I'm a longtime podcast fan, so happy to be here. I'm very happy to have you here. I'm glad you were able to make it tonight. See, now I'm happy I went live earlier. Crypto and Poker says, Vince returns as Mr. McMahon and helps Cena get 17. Crypto, I don't know if you've been sleep deprived. I don't know if you're on any kind of medication. Perhaps you're getting over an illness. But no. David Thiering with the $20 super chat. Seeing Charlotte do Stephanie Vicare's move on B-Fab, I had a thought. I didn't think it was possible for someone to do that move with a negative ass. Lo and behold, I learned something new today. Yeah, she probably should not do that again. Because the way I look at it, if you can't do it as well as the person who made the move popular, then you probably just shouldn't be doing it at all. Here's Majed. Renewed his channel membership. Actually, that might be a new membership. Honey deep fried chicken with flavor. Liv Morgan makes me laugh. She gives me Bart Simpson vibes, the laughing voice, and the bad child attitude who doesn't learn their lesson the hard way. That may be the first time that I have ever heard somebody compare Liv Morgan to Bart Simpson. David Ruiz died laughing with the chants towards Ciampa in the main event. Cero pelo, zero hair. Calvo, bald. Vete a Turquia? Go to Turkey. Triple H today was the birth of Tommaso El Cero Pelo. Man, I hope Ricochet never wrestles in Spain. They're going to abuse that poor guy. Holiday 197. Infamy says, yeah, Infamy. As I recall, when Charlotte would do the move, though, I don't think she did it that exact way. I think she would flip people over. Right? Isn't that the way she used to do the move? So it's not exactly the same move. But even if she was doing that move, compared to Stephanie, it's not as good. And we just saw it on television on Tuesday. Holiday says, what if John Cena and The Rock look like they are about to attack R-Truth and Cody makes the save, but then R-Truth turns heel and attacks Cody? This leads to R-Truth joining Rock and Cena. He can represent The Rock weekly. Introducing R-Truth into an angle like this? No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Honey deep fried chicken with flavor. It's Billy the Puppet from Saw. He has given you 3 options. 1, fight Omos for $1 million. 2, let Ken Shamrock break your ankles for $100,000. Or 3, fight Moxley buck naked in a death match for $50 million. I go with option 4, which is whatever contraption is attached to my head, I trigger it. And it blows my brains out. King Nader. With the Hardys on NXT at the moment, do you see them wrestling at WrestleMania? And if so, who would you like them to wrestle? I don't think they're going to be at WrestleMania. And if they were at WrestleMania, if I had to pick one team right now in WWE, who would I like to see them against? Not really anybody on Raw. I'm trying to think of like all the Raw teams. Maybe the Motor City Machine Guns. I think that could be fun. Hardys and the Machine Guns. Joseph says, Solo, thoughts on Nakamura leaving? Such a waste. That's just rumor. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't seen anything legitimate about it, so I have no thoughts on it until it actually becomes a story that is reported by a reputable source. Dom Joseph, Our Lady Peace, performed Benoit's theme for the first time in 22 years a couple of weeks ago. Should they still perform it? Sure. It's their song. I don't see why not. And from what I saw, because there was video of it online, I mean, they actually explained that they hadn't performed it in a while, and I think at the very end they mentioned some sort of might have been some sort of mental health help line or something, which I thought was very nice. They're not even obligated to do that. Their song. If they want to perform it, go for it. It's a great song. Plus Ultra Adrian, I think if they had 2 night WrestleManias 12 years ago and Punk was in the night 1 main event, Punk would still complain because it wasn't the night 2 main event. He might. He might, but Who knows? Nick Grasso, also with a 20. Sam Roberts said Triple H might give Rhea Ripley a title match at WrestleMania because she was unprofessional for interrupting the Bianca and Ios. Wait, that he might give her a title match or might not? He says might give. That doesn't even make sense. He's working himself into a shoot. I didn't hear what Sam said. What you just said doesn't even make any sense to me. He's going to give her a title match at WrestleMania because she was unprofessional? Why would he do that? Do I vape? I don't smoke. I don't vape. Project Libertad. I missed the entire podcast due to work. Can you give me a summary? No. But it's good to hear from you, brother. Johnny Boy Vaccaro. Logan Paul wants to sell his soul on Monday Night Raw. I think Logan Paul sold his soul a long time ago. Tonga Loa Superfan. I'm shocked and dismayed at Tonga Loa's 2K25 rating. It's at least 20 points lower than it should be, sensing some obvious anti-Loa bias at 2K. You didn't tell me what the score is. What's his score? It's got to be at least 75. Base Beerus, I noticed the colored mics. Great touch. Well, it's SmackDown, brother. You got to go blue for SmackDown. It'll turn red again on Monday. And for Dynamite, we go black because we're in mourning. Project Libertad. Do you think Moxley ever gets a script from Tony and when he reads it, he says, "This is such good shit" with his Vince voice? I don't think he gets scripts from Tony. I think Tony lets him do whatever he wants. And yes, I think he does say that. I think he says it's such good shit. This idea that I came up with, it's such good shit. Oh my God, Tonga Loa's rating is 60-ish? That's horrendous. Johnny Boy Vaccaro. The android Charlotte Flair looks like Cher. We'll start calling her Charlotte. See, even I can come up with these every now and then. Larry Jester with the $5. I think Gunther should pay a visit to Rikishi and then get called out by Jimmy. Jimmy loses, and while being choked out, Jay makes the save on the go home. This is what finally gets Rikishi into the ring on TV. Alexander says, Brother Solo, do you ever see Mercedes coming back to WWE and main eventing WrestleMania? She's so much better than AEW and all these indie scenes that she's not doing any indies except our indie, and I take offense to that. What other indies is she working? I wouldn't call New Japan an indie. And even Stardom. Stardom is owned by a larger company. Wouldn't call them independent. Do I ever see her back in WWE? Yes. Do I ever see her main eventing WrestleMania? No. But I do think she will be back in WWE at some point. Nick Grasso. He said might not. Sorry about that. Okay, so that's about Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley will be wrestling for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Period. End of story. And Tongaloa Superfan says, Tongaloa's rating is 79. What does he have to do to get it to a 99 for 2K26? I mean, I think he needs to just bribe the development team. That's pretty much the only way that'll ever happen. You know, slip him a few hundreds and maybe he'll have a shot. You know, slip it under the table. Will WWE want her back? Of course, they take her back in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me? You don't think WWE doesn't want Sasha Banks back at some point? What, are you out of your mind? Of course they'll take her back. It's more a question of can they work out a deal that both sides are comfortable with. And right now she's very happy. She's genuinely happy doing her own thing. She's got her own name and identity and belts from all different promotions. And she always wanted to work in Japan. She's been able to do that. So, I mean, there's no reason for her to, go back there anytime soon, but forever is a long time. I don't know how long her deal with Tony Khan is, but, do I think we'll see her back there at some point? Absolutely. Without a doubt. Base Beerus. Tony Khan still plays with action figures. Vince McMahon, too. Oh, Vince McMahon, he has a different kind of action figure. He names his wrestlers after them. That's a different kind of playset that we won't get into. Jacob Fatu in the game is an 87. That sounds about right. I mean, he hasn't been there for that long. I think by next year, he'll be over a 90 for sure. Who is the lowest? That's what I want to know. Whoever is on the WWE 2K25 roster, at least as far as main roster talent. I could see maybe if they have NXT talents, they would be on the lower side, but who from the main roster has the lowest score? Solomonster is a 92. I'd be at least a 94, at least. You're lowballing me on what I would be. AJ Styles is 85. Abyss is DLC for 2K25. He is. So is New Jack. Apparently, you could thank Nick Khan for that. It was his idea. Apparently, he was a big New Jack fan. So fucking New Jack is in the game. Or whatever DLC that is. I think he's in the same DLC with Abyss. I think that's coming out in June, I think. May or June is when that's coming out. All right, so look, we've hit multiple goals here. And so what we'll do first is we're going to be the booker, and then we'll do our Sporkle quiz. How's that sound? Let's do it. Let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Let us be the booker. This match right here, man, I'm telling you, Backlash. St. Louis. Got to make it happen. Probably the earliest installment of Be the Booker that we've ever done. Shout out to Austin Tucker, who is celebrating his 31st birthday on Sunday. So happy birthday to Austin. You get to celebrate your birthday with the sound off. It may not be out until later in the day, but you'll get to celebrate your birthday with the sound off. That's the best birthday. All right, Tag Team Be the Booker, and we begin with the Fabulous Freebirds. Freebird rules, so it could be any of these three men. But they're right in the middle. Michael P.S. Hayes. Starting off with the Freebirds, and from the Freebirds, we are going to American Alpha, Chad Gable, and Jason Jordan against the Fabulous Freebirds. And funny enough, Jason Jordan and Michael Hayes both work as agents. They're both sitting at Gorilla, possibly on this very tour, working in WWE. And Chad Gable now is under a lucha mask. All right, women's Be the Booker. See what we come up with here. We need some international flavor to this, since they're in Barcelona tonight, and they're going to be international next week and the week after that. We need some international flavor here. There we go. Tegan Knox. Where is she from again? Damn it. It's not Australia. Is it New Zealand or Australia? I'm gonna get some people mad now. Okay, we got some international flavor here, though. It's all good. Tegan Nox. All right, here we go. Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose and Tegan Nox are going to go. Well, that's not international flavor, but Mandy Rose and Tegan Nox. I'll give that the bell. There you go. Very, very nice. All right, so there we go. And now we come to our main event. Here we go. Okay, here we go, dudes. This is what it boils down to, the main event. And we begin with the legend himself, Bruno Sammartino, who reigned supreme for a very long time as the WWF champion. Probably a little too long, for being honest. But then again, you know, he was good for business, so that's why he was champion for so long. Can't argue with that. Bruno Sammartino against Jim Cornette. And to be fair, I think if Jim Cornette found out that this match was booked, that's the look that he would have on his face. So we got a little bit of international flavor in this match with Bruno, but then we go to Jim Cornette. What a match. Maybe he can manage Bruno Sammartino. I don't know about wrestling him. Jim Cornette against Bruno Sammartino. Oh my goodness. We were close. Yes, we were. We were close. Close, but no cigar. What are you going to do? 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right? All right, so there you go. Well, look who won the pony, says Slow King. Well. All right, well, now you guys hit the other goal. So now we are going to do something that we have not done in a while. I'm going to, there I am, bring up the smaller window here, because what we are going to do right now is we are going to bring up this right here. Now, this is a Sporkle quiz, for those who don't know. We've done a few of these before here as a bonus on these streams. And this one is called 8 to 1. This is a WWE quiz. We got a 5-minute timer, so this is a shorter one than the one we did last time. Can you pick the answers to match each WWE category 8 to 1? I'm not even sure what that means. Again, I haven't looked at this. I'm not even going to look at the chat. I'm going to start the quiz. No help, no cheating. We're going to try to answer these questions as best we can. You guys can play along, because that's the fun of it. So let's scroll down here. And we're going to play this quiz. Hold on, let me scroll down so you guys can see all the answers. There we go. All right, so I got to name all of the 5-time WrestleMania main eventers. Holy shit, there's 36 questions in this? 5-time, well, Hogan's got to be one, right? Okay, Hulk Hogan. John Cena's got to be another. Roman Reigns, I know that. Triple H, of course, naturally. 5, see, Cody doesn't have enough, right? Cody's not a 5-timer. Shawn Michaels. 5-time WrestleMania main eventers. Undertaker. Who would the other two be? Randy? Okay. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Shit. Damn. Oh, The Rock. It's got to be The Rock, right? There we go. All right, 7 Team Nexus members at SummerSlam 2010 is the next question. Okay, so the David Otunga, Daniel Bryan. Where's Daniel Bryan? Daniel Bryan's not in here. Darren Young, Wade Barrett, Michael Tarver, Justin Gabriel. Oh, come on, man. Team Nexus members. Skip Sheffield. Heath Slater. There we go. 2024 Women's Elimination Chamber participants. Oh, boy. Well, I know Tiffany Stratton. I mean, that was the match where she really got over for the first time. So Tiffany Stratton is one. Raquel was in there, because she had been gone for a while with her illness. And I think that might have been her first match back. I think she disappeared again after that. Oh, was Becky in there? Becky Lynch? Yes. I've only got one wrong so far. Liv Morgan. Naomi. And Bianca. Yep. 5 Hall of Fame managers. Well, I mean, come on. Bobby Heenan, of course. Bobby Heenan. Jimmy Hart. Paul Bear. Paul Ellering. Paul Heyman. It's a lot of Pauls. It's my middle name. 1988 Royal Rumble Final 4. Well, I know Duggan won, so that's one. One Man Gang, I think, was the last man out. I thought DiBiase was in the Final 4. Or I'm thinking of 89, maybe. Oh, I think I'm thinking of 89. Don Morocco. Dino Bravo. New Day. Oh, gee, I wonder. New Day members. Big E. Okay. Rated RKO. Okay, now we're getting... This is a little ridiculous here. One man who finished his story. Gee, I wonder who... Is it Brock Lesnar or is it Cody Rhodes? I don't know. I'm going to say Cody Rhodes. So what was the one that I... Oh, Brock was the one I got wrong. Brock Lesnar had 5 WrestleMania main events. WrestleMania 31. WrestleMania 34. WrestleMania 36. That's 3. WrestleMania 38 is 4. Oh, yeah, and WrestleMania 19. There you go. Holy shit. 5 WrestleMania main events. All right, well, I only got one wrong. That's not bad. Average score is 82%. I got 97. See, I'm like that little nerdy kid in the class who got the best score. There you go. I didn't realize that Brock had that many WrestleMania main events. Well, I would call that a success. That's what I would call that. See, those are fun. I wish they were a little bit harder, though. That one was actually harder at the beginning because that was the one like pool of names. So the more names you selected, they got easier as it went along. But yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. Thank you, David. Thank you. Give myself a little Barry Horowitz pat on the back there. Grant Hudson, channel member for 14 months. Ah, you got me, brother. That clip of Undertaker taking a dig at Hogan made me laugh. Yeah, I'm going to be talking more about some of the Hogan shade that went around this past week on the podcast. Also, rest in peace, Razor/Scott Hall, who passed away 3 years ago today. Has it been 3 years already? Wow. 3 years. Now, people sometimes ask me to name who I think could have been world champion but never was. And you hear a lot of the same names. Kurt Hennig, Roddy Piper, Rick Rude, Ted DiBiase. You got to have Scott Hall on that list. You know, he was never a world champion, but had the size, he had the charisma, he could work, he could sell. He threw one of the best working punches that I've ever seen any wrestler throw, right? He's right up there. So, I mean, outside of his demons and his issues that plagued him more so later in his career, I don't know. I don't know You know, why he never got the shot. I mean, later on, that's why he never got the shot. He just wasn't reliable, I guess. But absolutely somebody who could have had at least a short run as a world champion. Do I think DIY will split? I hope not. I think they're dead in the water if they split. That's the worst thing that could happen to them right now, is to split them. I don't think that's going to end well for either one of them. WrestleMania 11 should have been Razor's time, says Drew. No, I mean, Diesel had just won the belt a few months earlier, so it's unrealistic that Vince would have abandoned ship with him that quickly. You know, he was his guy. He was going to ride that wave and hope that business would turn around, and it never did. Business was terrible that year. I don't think you could just put that all on at the feet of Diesel, but yeah, it's sad because the Diesel that we got after he did that little sort of mini turn at Survivor Series that year, and then he would only slap hands with anybody who had a black glove on his hand, that version of Diesel, I think, would have done very well as champion. But it was that very vanilla, sort of homogenized babyface Diesel that sucked. Clearly, people didn't want to see that. New Generation kind of sucked. The New Generation was carried by Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. You take them out of the equation, holy shit. As bad as you think it was, dude, it would have been so much worse. But yeah, I mean, heel 96 Diesel, man. I'm telling you, if we would have gotten that Diesel a year earlier, would have been a whole... it's one of those things where it's amazing to think one little decision like that, if Diesel would have gotten that turn a year sooner, it's very possible he doesn't leave to go to WCW. Maybe we don't get the NWO. If we don't get the NWO, it's like this domino effect. What else don't we get, right? It's like picking door number 1 instead of door number 2. I love those like what if scenarios. It's pretty crazy to think about. Alex, thank you for the 5. Brother Solo, are you feeling okay? Sounds like you may be catching a cold. I hope not. Not to my knowledge. Devin from New Jersey, buy or sell Kevin Nash or Scott Hall? Scott Hall. I just think all around better performer. I think Kevin Nash might tell you the same thing, honestly. Juan Ocampo, you and Charles Mason, the hog version of Cena Rock. Which one am I? Thank you, Juan. Where did I see Juan? Was it in Chicago? Are you going to be in Chicago? We're coming back to Chicago on May 9th. Of course, they announced Backlash today for May 10th. So it's going to be a busy weekend. I'm going to be landing. First thing I'm going to do when I land is come home and then watch a fucking pay-per-view and then go live that night. Great. Then I got to do a show the next day. Kill me now. Why do these dates always have to fall so close to each other? How do I think the Warrior would have done in the Attitude Era? I think we got a glimpse of it, honestly, in 96 when he came back. And some of the things that he said in some of his promos on TV, he was cussing in some of his promos. I think that Warrior in the Attitude Era, I think, though, would have been a disaster. Like, politically, it would have been a fucking disaster. It would not have worked out. Jason says, I miss the Sunday PLEs. Yeah, I do sometimes too. I mean, I go back and forth on them because, Sunday's been my day for the sound off as far back as I've been doing the show, right? Which will be 18 years in November, which is crazy. So sometimes it works to my advantage where we get a great show, very newsworthy show on a Saturday night, and it gives me more content to talk about on Sunday. And then there are times where it's like, man, I really would rather the show be on Sunday night because it's already a busy news week. And now I have to wait until the pay-per-view is over that night, put some notes together for the next. It's a whole thing. It doesn't really matter to me as far as like waking up in the morning, like on a Monday morning to go to the office or anything like that. I don't have to do that anymore. But yeah, I feel you, man. I miss those shows too sometimes. Warrior against Kane would have been interesting. Yeah, I mean, again, look, the idea of Warrior coming in any of these eras and doing jobs for people, yeah, if you paid him enough, there might be a big name here and there, but it's like the idea of Warrior doing a job for Bret Hart. Because I think in his book, Bret said that he was told the plan was after he won the belt in October of 92 that at the Royal Rumble, he would be wrestling the Warrior. And I think they might have even told him that the Warrior was going to put him over. And you got to be really fucking naive to believe that. I can't imagine it. Like in no circumstance can I imagine that. Unless there was just massive interference and just a complete bullshit finish that just made Bret look like a schmuck to lead to whatever Warriors match was going to be at WrestleMania that year in Vegas. I just can't imagine it. I just can't. Warrior no-selling a people's elbow. Yeah, he'll no-sell the people's elbow like he no-sold the pedigree. Oh, man. Anyway, this has been fun. Thank you, guys. We killed it here on the early stream. We did Be the Booker, man. We did a Sporkle quiz. We got to do more of those. We'll definitely set up goals to do more of those. I'm going to try to find some hard ones, though. Hey, it's Leopoldo. Did I miss one from Leopoldo? I thought I saw his name before when I was doing my quiz. Oh, I did. Leopoldo, I missed your earlier one, and I'm reading it now. It's a good thing I'm actually reading your second one first, because I'm reading the first one, and I think I would have taken the first one seriously. It would have hurt my feelings. Leopoldo says I was being sarcastic. I would hope so. Thank you, Leopoldo. I hope you're doing well, brother. Always good to hear from you. Slow King. What if Vince kept using Macho? You know, it's sad because we've heard Lanny Poffo before talk about how, you know, Randy would tell him he had this great plan for a program with Shawn Michaels, and it was going to be a 2-year program starting in 92 when Shawn was really first starting out as a heel. And it would stretch out, and maybe, I don't know how that would work. Like a 2-year program, would they, you know, do a match and leave and come back to it, or would it just be 2 years straight through? But I believe the idea was it would start in 92 and it would pay off at WrestleMania 10 in 94 with Savage putting Shawn over. Like he really saw something in him and wanted to work with him. He knew how great of a worker he was. Maybe he felt like whatever shortcomings he had at his age at that point, Shawn could kind of make up for it. And Vince just didn't go for it. Now, I mean, it worked out well for Shawn. You know, we got the ladder match at WrestleMania 10, but it's too bad we never got a program between Savage and Shawn. I'm sure Shawn would have given him some of the best matches that he had in years. But even then, you know, in 91, he had that great match with Warrior. 92, he had a great match at WrestleMania with Flair. Savage could go, you know, even in WCW, you know. I don't look as fondly on his run there as I do what he was doing with Vince, but the guy could go. And Vince just kind of cast him aside like, no, we're going for a youth movement here and you're going to be an announcer and that's it. And it sucks because he had more to give. Yeah, maybe he wasn't the same Macho Man in the ring that he was in fucking 89, but the guy could still go. He wasn't a fucking dinosaur. I could see why he would have left. The money was not in being an announcer. The money was being in the ring. But I mean, by the time we got to the end of the a decade, and just to see him out there, he was so roided up and hurt, especially with his knees. It was sad, you know, especially when he got so big, so unnaturally big. And now he's not only older and more broken down, but now he's too big and he could almost do nothing at that point. So it was sad to see. Honey Deep Fried Chicken with Flavor says one movie has to go: Back to the Future, Teen Wolf, Rocky IV, or The Breakfast Club. Then we're saying goodbye to Teen Wolf. We are going to have to say sayonara to Teen Wolf. It's never really a Teen Wolf guy. Drew says, I love that AJ Styles was in Macho's last match. He was. That was sad. I mean, watching him in TNA, though, that one match that he had, that was very sad. I mean, I'm glad at that point he had slimmed down, but boy, he did not look like the Macho Man. Did he ever give Oliver Platt a receipt? Don't forget Bonesaw and Spider-Man. Was that the same show where Elix Skipper walked the cage? That was the same show that Macho Man was on? I didn't know that. It's one of the all-time great moments in TNA history. Yeah, his knees. You know, I'll never for the life of me understand what he was thinking in 97, probably, right? When was that Hogan Piper cage match with that rickety cage when Savage came diving off the top of it? Oh my God. Like, it hurts me to go back and watch that. Like him diving off the top and landing on his knees. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. Bonesaw McGraw. In TNA, he was Macho Taker. He came out, yeah, he was kind of dressed up like Undertaker a little bit there. Yeah, I think it was Halloween Havoc in 97. Age in a Cage, as Jim Cornette called it on Raw the next night. Remember, they used to give Cornette for like 3 weeks and then they stopped doing it. But like, they just gave Cornette, they would cut to him and he would have his own segment where he would just torch WCW and whatever they were doing. I think he called it Age in a Cage. Hey, B Sweet, that was a good joke, man. I got to give credit where it's due. He had a great Jey Uso yeet infection joke that cracked me on TNT on Tuesday night. Well, he says yeet every 5 seconds. So, I mean, really, he does. He has a yeet infection. He has to be treated for a yeet infection. He says it so often. Grant says, it's a shame because Rock wanted to work with Macho in 05. That was the rumor at the time. Rock was interested in possibly working a match with Savage at WrestleMania 21, and then Rock's contract expired, and it was a clerical oversight. But that was where the real break happened with him in WWE, and we didn't see him again until 2011. But had he stuck around, or had they renewed his contract, I don't know how you allow the Rock's contract to lapse, but maybe there was a chance we would have. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say even if the Rock would have re-signed or he would have stuck around, the chances of getting him and Savage at that point in a match, I don't know that Savage would have done it. I think Savage knew that. I don't think he wanted to be seen in the physical state that he was in. I don't think he would have done it, but Vince was still like, he's persona non grata, right? That's why he wasn't in the Hall of Fame all those years. I don't think it was going to happen. I don't even think Rock could have convinced Vince to change his mind at that point. The Real CS says, do you think Jeff Cobb is WWE bound? Seems like it. I mean, Fightful is saying that one source has him listed on the internal WWE roster already. I mean, that's not a mistake. So there's definitely something going on there. Do I think he's WWE bound? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. Leopoldo, I think Joe and Patricia have run off together. I wish them well. They're like Bonnie and Clyde. I wish them well. Yeah, I mean, the Stephanie McMahon rumors, it's just one of those urban legends. Savage did make comments, though, in a video. He used to have a website. It might be on YouTube. There was a video where he was in the gym and he was like shooting on Triple H and Stephanie. And he made comments, I think, about how, hey, Triple H, I'm going to like steal your wife, make a woman out of her. I think that's really where it comes from. But people made up this rumor like, oh, and the rumor might predate that video. I don't know. Or it might have started around that same time. I don't buy the rumor personally. I think it just has more to do with maybe those comments that he made. But it's always going to be just one of those urban legends. I mean, even Lanny Poffo, he never really answered the question directly when he would talk about it. That was his brother. You would think he would shoot that down immediately and say, absolutely not. And I don't think he ever did. So I think that only fed into it more. But you'd be surprised, especially back then. You know, I did the RSPW Rewind videos. Should do another one of those soon. But whatever the early like message boards were, I used to be on a lot of those message boards on the internet. And you could just, one post could start a rumor. I'll guarantee you it was something like that. It was probably a post on like a random message board. And somebody picked up on it and it just started to spread. And before long, it's like, hey, there's this rumor going around. And it just sort of takes on a life of its own. I wouldn't be surprised if it started out like that. The Real CS says, outside of his work in Lucha Underground, I don't know much about his work. Talking about Jeff Cobb? Yeah, Jeff Cobb played the character of Matanza. On Lucha Underground, he was a masked, like, monster. And the brother of the proprietor of Lucha Underground. Basically, like, their general manager, Dario Cueto, was his brother Matanza, and he kept him locked away in a cage. And he was great. He was great in that role. If you want to see his work, I mean, he spent years in New Japan, so I don't know what you have access to, but Lucha Underground, there are free matches that are on their YouTube channel. You can, if you type in Matanza Cueto, Cueto, or just Matanza Lucha Underground, you could find some of his Matanza matches on there. Jeff Cobb is really good. You know, he's in his early 40s. He's not like a young guy, but I think he's very good. And I feel like this could be a situation where he looks at it and says, look, I'm 42. If WWE has interest in me, it's now or never. He's been with New Japan for so long. You know, it's not like he's going to be the IWGP champion. We've seen him in AEW. I think that's where some of the surprise comes from, because he's made appearances in AEW before and he's friends with some of those guys, and people just assumed, oh, he'll go to AEW. But if he has a shot at going to WWE, it's like now or never, dude. If you think you can get that money and you can get that contract and, you know, you think they have a role for you, do it. I'd love to see what they can do with him. Can you imagine a Jeff Cobb, Bronson Reed tag team in WWE? Cameron Spencer. Fire Nico Harrison. I can't fire anybody. It doesn't work for me. Honey Deep Fried Chicken. What wrestling title belt design would be, or belt designs would be in your Mount Rushmore? Well, one of them is over my shoulder, as you can see. The Winged Eagle, the classic Intercontinental from 88 or 87 to 98. So that's 2. Big Gold, like the Flair version from like 86, 87. That version of Big Gold. So that's 3. What would my 4th be? It's a good question. Oh, you know what? IWGP version 4. I think Kota Ibushi was the last one to hold it. That belt is sick. That's a good looking belt. David Thering, here's a thought. Who's to say Joe and Patricia aren't the same person, just 2 different accounts? Maybe Joe has split personality, and maybe he used to be Patricia. And the second personality doesn't remember that they had subscribed previously, so he resubscribed. And then got angry again, and then he unsubscribed. And now next week, Patricia may reemerge. I think you may be onto something. EJ Slamp with the $4.99. WWE Vault just posted the Savage Crush Falls Count Anywhere match from WrestleMania 10. Weird rules for that match, but I liked it. I can't explain why, but I'm a Crush fan. I just watched that yesterday. I saw it, and it's different because in that match, Falls Count Anywhere, when you pin somebody outside the ring, the match doesn't end. That person who got pinned has 60 seconds to return to the ring. So that was the big rule change. It is weird. But I liked the match. I mean, it wasn't like great or anything, but I mean, I liked it. I got to start checking out the WCW Vault. I've spent most of my time, when I'm on YouTube watching that stuff on the WWE Vault, but they have a WCW one too. I should probably start checking some of that stuff out. Grant Hudson with the $4.99. I still go back and watch his All-Stars promo. So good. Seemed as though things trending positively with Macho / the company, and then he dies. Yeah, he did that video game promo. They were finally, and I think that was more of a video game company thing than a WWE thing, but it felt like maybe the ice was thawing. And I absolutely think had he not passed away within a couple of years, they would have put him in the Hall of Fame, and we would have gotten an actual speech from him in the Hall of Fame. And then he died. Thanks, Vince. Did I see Meltzer give Tony and Mariah 5 stars? I love that match, to be honest. No, but I saw that he gave Moxley and Copeland 3.25. Think about this. And again, nobody should put any stock into one person's star ratings, but everybody makes a big deal about them. Think about this for a second. He gave Moxley and Copeland 3.25 stars. He gave Rock and Hogan at WrestleMania 18 3 stars. So he gave Moxley and Copeland at Revolution a higher score than Rock and Hogan from WrestleMania 18. Think about that. Drew says they just did Starrcade 93. Oh, on the WCW Vault channel? I'll have to check that out. Yeah, they've been posting some full shows. I will have to check that out. Does anyone know his criteria? Only he knows. It's up here. It's in Dave's brain. That's why I don't understand why people make too big of a deal about it. I mean, again, the example I just gave you, need I say more? Why you shouldn't take it too seriously. And somehow Undertaker and Shawn at WrestleMania 25 did not get a 5-star. Well, you can thank Snooker's Kid for that. Eminem, thank you for the $25 Brie mode. I know I'm late, but the party doesn't start until Brie walks on in. I'm counting down until Cena and Cody finally are in the ring together for the first time since Cena went to the dark side. Do you like the rock and soul connection? I saw Brian Gewirtz shot that shit down the other day on Twitter. That was the other rumor going around that WWE was considering calling Rock and Cena the rock and soul connection. And Gewirtz, he's basically the Rock's chief of staff. If you look at the Rock as the president, he shot that down. So they are not the rock and soul connection, which I don't much care for that name anyway. Unless they're a tag team, what the fuck do they need a name like that for anyway? The rock and soul connection. Comes up with this stuff. We need Tony Storm against Mercedes. You might get it. You might get it in Texas. If we don't get Mercedes and Athena, you might get Mercedes and Tony. All right, thank you guys. This has been fun. I hope you enjoyed the early review. Maybe we'll do this again next week. We'll see. But again, if you're wondering why we went early, I watched the show earlier today using my trusty Express VPN. You can too, by the way. You can check the description down below. I got a deal for you if you want to try out a VPN. It's great. So I was able to watch SmackDown earlier, and I figured, you know what? These 3-hour shows, my God, if I could watch it earlier, and a lot of people are going to be watching it earlier, maybe we'll go live a little bit earlier. So I went live around 9 o'clock tonight. We'll see. Maybe we'll do the same thing next week. I think we're going to have another couple of SmackDowns like this until the international tour is over. I don't mind it personally. I think it's great. We had a good crowd for an off time. So thank you for the support. I am going, again, just one last reminder here that tomorrow, House of Glory, big show, City of Dreams in New York City, 8 p.m. You can watch the show, stream it on Triller TV. Mercedes Moné makes her HOG debut, and for the first time ever, she's going to be wrestling Indy Hartwell. And Zilla Fatu is going to be defending his Crown Jewel Championship against Dijak. That's going to be good. I'm looking forward to that one. And then episode 905 of the podcast is coming up on Sunday. I'm probably thinking later in the day it'll drop. Still may have some work to finish up that morning, but that'll be the podcast for this weekend. And then back with you for a very big Raw post show. Monday night after Raw. Live at 8 p.m. Reminder, okay, because they're going to be airing it live on Netflix at 3 Eastern, I believe. So around 8 o'clock Eastern is when I will go live on YouTube. I know the schedule's all fucked for the next few weeks. So an earlier stream on Monday night, we're going to talk about John Cena's very first promo as a heel since turning on Cody Rhodes. So that is going to be a fun show on Monday night. So West Coast James says, I think Dave's rating adds an extra star when a match takes place at the Tokyo Dome. I want to know how they got that extra quarter of a star. 3.25 is what Moxley and Copeland got. But yes, I'm sure if it was in the Tokyo Dome, I am sure. I am sure it would have gotten at least 4. It's an automatic upgrade. Doesn't even matter how many people are in the Tokyo Dome. It could be an empty Tokyo Dome. It could be an empty arena match. It's good for at least 3/4 of a star. Mankind says, I hope Joe comes back next week. Hey, Joe's always welcome, but Joe is going to have a tough crowd here to deal with. I don't think he wants none of that. Maybe Joe will see the error of his ways. Be well, stay safe, have yourselves a great night, and I will see you back here on the channel live on Monday night for the Raw post show at 8 p.m. Until then, take care, guys.